Hey Jason here from Simply Swider. Is your Samsung gas oven refusing to heat even though the igniter is glowing bright orange? Here's the good news. This is usually a simple DIY fix that'll save you $200 to $400 compared to a service call. In the next 15 minutes, I'll walk you
Ugh,
through the exact steps
seriously.
to diagnose and fix this problem. Before we get started, if you run into any
It's still
questions,
completely
jump into our
frozen.
Facebook group. Links in the description. We've got thousands of people helping each other fix their appliances, and I pop in there daily to help out. Now, here's the thing. When your gas oven won't heat up, most folks think it's a gas supply problem or the control board's fried. But after years of fixing these things, I can tell you that's almost never what's actually going on. Here's what's really happening. Think of your igniter like a security guard at a bank vault. It needs to show proper ID. In this case, 2 to 3, 6 amps of electrical current before the gas valve will unlock and let gas through. A dying igniter is like a security guard with expired credentials. It might look the part by glowing orange, but if it's only pulling 7 amps, that vault stays locked tight. Real world breakdown: roughly 90% of no heat calls are igniter related. Temperature sensor issues show up next, especially on certain model families. Then control board problems, and thermal fuse trips are the least common unless you've been running that self clean cycle. Think in layers here. Igniter is input, gas valve is mechanical response, temperature sensor is feedback, control board is logic, and thermal fuse is safety. A heating failure will always live in one of those layers. Our job is to figure out which one with the fastest checks. So the igniter, this is the big one, probably 90% of the no heat problems I see. Here's what happens. You'll see that glow bar light up orange, wait around for what feels like forever, and nothing. No flame, no heat. I had this customer last month call me in a panic, said her Thanksgiving turkey was ruined because the oven wouldn't heat. Turns out the igniter was glowing just fine, but was only pulling 5 amps when it needed 3. 2. These things are basically consumable parts. Think of them like brake pads or light bulbs. They last about 3 to 7 years, then the ceramic material starts breaking down from all that thermal stress. Here's where most people mess up. They see that orange glow and think the igniter's fine, so they start replacing gas valves and control boards. Don't do that. You're throwing money away. The real test is amperage, not glow. First safety check, turn off the gas shutoff valve and unplug the oven completely. You'll need a clamp-on ammeter, about $30 to $50 at any hardware store. Clamp it around one igniter wire and check the reading. Healthy igniter 2 to 3, 6 amps. Failed igniter, anything under 9 amps means that gas valve's staying locked shut. You might also see white spots or cracks on the dark ceramic element. That's another dead giveaway. Safety first here. Make sure you turn off the gas and unplug the unit before you start working on this. The fix is straightforward. Replace the igniter. Now here's something most people don't know. When you install the new one, don't touch the ceramic with your bare fingers. The oil from your skin creates hot spots that'll make it crack prematurely. Use gloves or handle it by the metal bracket only. The temperature sensor, this one's tricky because the symptoms are all over the place. You might have an oven that's burning everything to a crisp, or one that takes forever to preheat, or you're getting error codes like C20 or C21. I remember this guy who called me about his oven running way too hot. Everything was coming out charred, even on low settings. Turned out his temperature sensor was reading completely wrong, telling the control board it was 200 degrees when it was actually 450. There's actually been class action lawsuits about this, specifically with sensor model DG3200002B, where the resistance drifts over time from heat exposure. Here's the simple test. Unplug your oven and disconnect the sensor. It's that metal probe in the upper back corner. Set your multimeter to ohms and test the sensor at room temperature. Good sensor reads 1080 to 1090 ohms. Bad sensor reads under 900 or over 2900 ohms. If your numbers are way off, you found your problem. The sensor is usually mounted in the upper rear corner of the oven cavity. Looks like a small metal probe. Sometimes you can access it from inside the oven. Sometimes you got to get to the back panel. Don't just assume it's a calibration issue if your oven's running hot or cold. Test that sensor resistance before you start messing with settings. Control board problems, these are less common, but they do happen. Usually it's a relay that gets stuck or solder joints that crack from all the heat cycling. Here's what you'll see. The display works fine. You hear relay clicks when you set it to bake, but that igniter never lights up at all. stays completely dark. I had this lady who swore her brand new igniter was defective because it wouldn't glow. Turns out the control board wasn't sending any power to it. The test here is checking for 120 volts AC at the igniter terminals when bake is active. You'll typically find these labeled as T501 to neutral on the board. If you're getting 0 volts but the display shows bake mode, that's your smoking gun. The board's not doing its job. Now, I got to tell you, this is where things get a little more involved because you're working with live voltage. If you're not comfortable with that, this might be where you call someone like me. But if you know your way around a multimeter, it's not too bad. Just make sure you label all your wires before you disconnect the old board. Trust me on that one. Thermal fuse or high limit thermostat. This one's usually event based, meaning something triggered it. Most common culprit, running that self clean cycle. Don't ask me how I know this, but I've seen more ovens die right after Thanksgiving because folks run the self clean cycle to get ready for the holidays. The extreme heat from self cleaning can trip this safety switch, especially if your vents are blocked or the insulation's not great. When this thing trips, you might lose all power to the heating components. Sometimes even the display goes dark. It's located on the back of the unit, and testing it is simple. Just check for continuity with your multimeter. If the circuit's open, it's tripped. Some are resettable, most are one-time fuses that you got to replace. They're cheap, usually 15 to 40 bucks, but you do need to access the back panel. Here's the thing though. Don't just replace it and call it good. Figure out why it tripped in the first place or you'll be right back where you started. The igniter is going to run you anywhere from 30 to 150 bucks depending on whether you go OEM or aftermarket. Now, I'll be straight with you. OEM parts last longer, but the generics are significantly cheaper and they'll get the job done. This is definitely a DIY friendly repair if you're comfortable removing the oven racks and bottom panel and doing some basic wire splicing. You'll need ceramic wire nuts for this. Don't use the regular plastic ones because they'll melt. The whole job usually takes about an hour once you get the oven pulled out. One thing to watch out for, some ranges you can access everything from the front, others you might need to pull the unit out to get to the rear connections. Temperature sensors running about $20 to $60, and this one's pretty straightforward to replace. It's usually accessible right from inside the oven cavity. Just a couple screws holding it in place. The tricky part is sometimes those mounting screws get seized from all the heat cycling over the years. If that happens, you might need some penetrating oil and patience. Don't use power tools on these. I've seen too many people strip out the threads trying to rush it. Hand tools and take your time. Control board's the big ticket item, $150 to $350 for the part, plus it's the most complex repair. Here's my rule. If your oven is under 5 years old, it's worth fixing. Over 8 years old and you're better off shopping for a replacement between 5 and 8 years, consider refurbished boards for $200 to $250. This repair involves multiple wire connections, so take photos before disconnecting anything. Trust me on this one. If your oven's under 5 years old, it's probably worth fixing. If it's older and the repair is going to cost more than half what a new oven would run you, might be time to start shopping. All right, if you're dealing with faulty parts, let's talk about what you're looking at cost-wise and when it makes sense to fix versus replace. The good news is most of these repairs are way cheaper than buying a new oven and definitely cheaper than having someone like me come out. Professional service calls are running 150 to 300 bucks these days, and that's before parts. DIY saves you about 70 to 80% of that cost. Now, before we wrap up, you can see right there on your screen the most common Samsung models that run into these heating issues. Maybe you'll spot your own unit there. The NX58 series seems to have a higher failure rate on igniters, and there's been some class action stuff around certain temperature sensors. If you've got one of those slide-in ranges, there's also been recalls on the front knobs. They turn too easily and can get bumped by pets or people. Samsung should send you free knob locks if that applies to your model. Here's your action plan. Start with the igniter amperage test. That solves 90% of these cases. If that checks out, test your temperature sensor resistance. Still no luck? Check for voltage at the control board. Remember, glowing orange doesn't mean working properly. You need that 2 amp minimum to open the gas valve. Total repair time 1 to 3 hours. Total savings $200 to $400 compared to a service call. Early warning signs to watch for. Preheating taking more than 10 minutes, hearing pops or booms when it lights, or that igniter glowing for different amounts of time before flame appears. This failure pattern isn't Samsung specific either. Membrane controls, thermal cycling components, and gas safety systems fail the same way across brands. Different error codes, same basic problems. If you guys know someone who's having appliance troubles, please send them the link to this video or a link to my channel where I have tons of other videos showing how to fix pretty common issues with appliances, sometimes for free or as little cost as possible. It sure beats having a repairman come out and spending several hundred for them to fix it when it could be something so simple. If this helped you get your oven working again, hit that like button and drop a comment below. Let me know which fix worked for you. Really helps other people with the same problem. And if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. We'll get this out to more folks who need to save some time and money. Thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have a great day.